Hello, this is Akiko Sudano from StampinInTheMeadows.com in Downingtown, Pennsylvania. And thank you so much for joining me today. I am going to make a card with a retiring stamp set, this Oh Snap stamp set. And this is from the current mini catalog. And it's such a cute one. It's got the crocodile, so I immediately think of Florida, and then all of the different little animals, and then little plants, and then the fishies, and then it's got some really, really nice little sayings that go well with it. Hello, Karen. Thank you so much for joining me. That I think go well with it, and that are really, really nice too. And they kind of have a pun theme with it and stuff too. So this is a photopolymer stamp set, and it's on the retiring list. So it's going to be available. Yes, it is Florida. It is going to be available while supplies last through the end of this month. And I don't think there's any discount on this current set, but it's a fun one. So I'm going to make a card with it today, and what I've already pre-cut some of my pieces. I'm going to stamp a little scene on this basic white circle that I cut using the largest of the layering circles dies, and then I'll back that with this scallop circle that's cut out of Misty Moonlight ink. And I'm using a Pull Party card base, and this panel is from the Party panel. It's not flowers today. Cute little animals. I thought this would be a cute set to use, and I actually saw a card that was similar to this, the one that I'm making today, in Pinterest, but I haven't been able to locate it since I've found it. So the idea is copied, as I think all the best card ideas are. But this is from the Pattern Party designer series paper. That's the new designer series paper, and this is the host set. There's a big set of designer series papers that are part of a host set, and it's got lots of little different colored patterns on the front, and then on the backs of all of these papers it's a black and white design, so it's a pretty nice one. So first I've cut this panel, and I'm going to adhere this panel to my card base. I'm going to just adhere it directly with liquid glue, and I'm going to adhere about I guess about 1.5 inches from the top. So I'm going to just lay it down here and let it go straight across. Now this panel I've cut to a 4 1/4 width so that it would go all the way across the front panel. Now this is a top folding card, and I think for today's card design I'm using some of this Night of Navy twine, and I'm going to wrap this around it and make a bow. So this is a top folding card, and I think that for this kind of card, I think that since I'm wrapping this around it as opposed to putting another layer on top, I think you need to have a top folding card. But if you decide you want to make a side folding card instead, like a book kind of card that goes like this, you can make a bow and then just adhere it to the side with glue dots instead of wrapping it. But I'm going to just wrap this and make a bow. Actually, I'm going to take this and check my lengths here. And I can move that over, but I want to make a knot so that this, if the bow comes undone, then it doesn't end up being a real mess. And the nice thing about the twine is that it's pretty forgiving from the perspective of not being too bulky. Some ribbons are going to be too bulky if you make a full knot with it like this. But I'm going to try to keep it tight and put it like this. And I'm going to just go ahead and tie a bow, and I'll trim the ends after I get everything else put together, and then I can shift the bow. But just a big loopy bow over here, and I'll probably end up sliding this over a little bit to the side as well. So you can see the in the back, it's there. So it's pretty movable there, somewhere like that. Okay, so I'm going to put this aside, and then I'm going to start with the fun part. I'm going to start stamping my little scene. So I have a little sample that I did earlier, kind of to position things here, and I'm going to just basically copy that. And first I've got my, the little, oh yeah, tweezers are a good idea. So I there's a little lake thing right here. So I'm going to do this, stamp this in balmy blue. And I'm going to move this over, I think, a little bit further down. Move my scissors away. And this is just so cute. I'm going to check this first. Yeah. Again, I think this is another, a lot of my, oh, I haven't tried that. We'll have to get together and see about using tweezers to help make the bow, because my fingers are just not coordinated. It's worse than it, I think, has ever been. So I'm going to just make a little lake here on the bottom, stamped in balmy blue. And the big thing here is to make sure that your waves are going in the right direction. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to stamp the little froggy right next to the lake right here, and I'm going to stamp him in garden green. Okay, that looks good. Stamp him just kind of, and the nice thing about this being a photopolymer stamp is that you can see kind of through it, and it helps to place your stamps a little bit. So the frog could be placed on the edge, or even if his paws go a little bit on the inside, I think that's okay. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to stamp this flower, and I'm going to show you, I did a little trick here with this guy, because I like having I'm stamping it in Mango Melody. And okay, let's see here, I re-inked this pad and got some dark spots here. I want to make sure I get a good thing here, and that's good. I'm going to stamp this kind of above, and I want to just make sure that I'm still on my die cut circle. Okay, so it's like the frog is sitting underneath the lily pad or something. Now, one of the things that always bugs me is that I feel like stems need to be green. And so what I did was I found my garden green Stampin' Right marker. This is not the blends. This is just the Stampin' Right marker. And this flower, this particular flower, the lines are simple enough and easy enough that I can go ahead and go over it in the garden green. And so it makes it look like I've got a garden green stem. See, it's very simple. straight lines. You gotta love it, right? All right, so let's do the flamingo. And of course, we're going to use Flirty Flamingo for the flamingo and put him right next to the little pond. Let's see, how does this one? Yeah, that looks good. And put him right next to the pond here, visiting the frog, and he can be in the water or not as well. There. And so that leaves us a little bit of room on the top for our sentiment. And I'll go ahead and stamp the sentiment, and I'm going to stamp the sentiment in Misty Moonlight. And this is going to be the Hello Friend sentiment. And then we can color it. Okay. So I think that looks good. All right, so now I'm going to pull out my Stampin' blends and I'm going to color. I'm going to first color my flamingo in the light Flirty Flamingo. So just give it just a little bit of color to fill it in. And some tail feathers too. There. And then the frog, I'm going to color in Granny Apple Green, in the light Granny Apple, in both of the Granny Apple Green Stampin' blends. So I'm going to start with the dark one, and I'm going to use the brush tip again, and I'm going to go this little eye poking out, make him green, give him a dark green back, and then on kind of his leg, the outside of his leg here, and down here where it's going to cast a shadow, do that. And then the rest of him will color in the light Granny Apple Green. And so there'll be just a little bit of a contrast in color here, but it's not going to be not very significant. And I'm going to just get the color of a green frog. There. Oh, and then actually I think for the stem, I'm going to color the stem in the dark Granny Apple Green. So pleased that is so simple to just go over with a Stampin' Right marker. And then I'm going to color the flower, and I'm going to use the Pale Papaya Stampin' blends, and I'm going to use both the dark and the light. And I'm going to do this in such a way that I do the dark first, and I'm going to go from, and there's another dog here, from the center and just go out a little bit so that I can kind of get a multi-tone effect in color with the tips of the flower being white. So that, and then I'll go over with the light and extend these a little further, almost to the end. And I'm sorry, I'm having a problem with my comments not showing up on my computer, and so I'm not sure if anybody's saying something. I'm not. I'll stand up shortly and we can look at them. So that's it for our little stamped vignette here. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get some Stampin' Seal, and I'm going to adhere that to my mat, the scalloped circle. And just try to get this centered. So it's just a tiny little, bit of scallops showing through there. And then we've got our card base. Bring that back in, and we'll pop this on top here with dimensionals. Okay. Here we go. And I have my little half dimensionals here. I'm just covering, putting them in a circle here, and then I'll pull them off, pull the covers off. And there's my little trash bowl. Oops, got that one already. Okay, there we go. And the nice thing about circle, when you do things on a circle like this, it really makes it fairly easy to line up straight, because you can just rotate it until you got it, until everything looks good. There. Okay, so we're almost done with our front now, and there's our loopy bow, and I think I'm going to just leave everything the way it is there. Now let's go to work on the inside, and we're going to do a little bit more stamping on the inside, and I have a basic white panel here, and then I have another strip of the Designer Series paper so that we can adhere that to the bottom. But first I want to put one of these flowers on. I'm going to just cover that with that. Put one of these flowers on, and we stamp that one in the Mango Melody. And let me check this again. Make sure we're, because we're getting some dark spots, because I re-inked this and things are just a little bit off. There. I think we'll be okay with the next one. Okay. So, and this little strip is about a 1/2 inch, so we want to make sure that our flower shows. Go up a little bit. Like that. And then we will use our Pale Papaya Stampin' Blends and color it just like we colored the one on the front. Oops, it sounds like somebody's checking. Oh, first I've got to do my little trick with the stem again, because definitely want to make sure we have green stems. And I'm using the bullet end of the Stampin' Right marker. And it's like, yay, I can put my Stampin' Right markers back to work again. And use the dark Granny Apple Green Stampin' Blend for the stem. And the dark Pale Papaya for the centers of the flowers. use the brush tip. So it's got a little bit of texture in color anyway. And then, let's see, then we want our other sentiment. And this one is going to say, sending a big smile. So I think we're going to stamp this in Granny Apple Green, but we just need to decide where we're going to stamp it. We're going to put our little strip down here, and do we want to stamp it at the bottom here, or do we want to stamp it in the middle? Or so many choices, so many choices. I think I'm going to put it right here in the bottom corner. And I kind of like having, and this is the first time I've used this one, so I definitely want to stamp it a couple of times before stamping it for good on my card. I find photopolymer stamps are better if you do it a couple of times here, and then I can line it up, put some more ink on there, line it up. I think that's good. There. Okay. And then we'll just adhere our little Designer Series paper to the bottom. Oops, just barely made it. Good. I always do this with liquid glue. So put that on. Oops, stuck my finger in there. That's not so good. We had the strangest week. We had, it started out really tropical hot. And then the past couple of days, it's been like barely 60 degrees. So it's really cool, really cooled off. Trim off the excess. There. So I think that's a nice little inside. And I'm gonna put this on the inside with Stampin' Seal, and then I got one more thing to show you. And this is I guess this is kind of old school, but it was a fun little thing, and I thought this worked out really, really well. Let's see. Let's put this on the inside. Okay. That looks good. Little flower sticking up. Okay, so we've got everything done. Now, one of the little things that one of the little gems is this shimmery crystal effects thing. So what I want to do is I want to put this on the frog to give, and I'll show you my little sample because I tried this out and it worked out really, really well. Can you see how the frog, there you go, you can see how it makes it a little shiny and wet. So the shimmery crystal effects, they've got a little bit of very, very fine glitter in there as well. So, what you want to do is it's got a you can see it's got kind of a pointy tip in there, and then it'll come out as a liquid. Now the thing is that this needs to dry a little bit, so you just want to put it on and just kind of smooth it around and just don't need very much, and you want to be careful and just kind of go around the line, and then we'll have a little shiny frog. It's going to take about an hour for this to dry, and you can look at it and say, oh, did I get everything covered? Oh, there's a little part on his side here that and if you miss something, you can just kind of move it around. The big thing you want to be careful of is that you don't want to get bubbles in it. And then, of course, after, when it's still wet, you don't want to stick your finger in it accidentally. So that's why I'm saving it to the very end, and then I'll wait to get my pictures until after it dries. But you can kind of see, I think a little bit more, push it a little bit more on this side there. And it doesn't really give it extra dimension, but it just gives it the shiny texture. So that's a fun thing. It's in the back of the catalog, but it's really a fun product. So I definitely encourage folks to consider that. And so I don't know if you can see, yeah, there's a little bit of shine. So that's our frog, and I guess I chose to do a frog because frogs are awfully slimy and stuff like that, but I guess you could do the water as well. But that's my card for today. So thank you so much for joining me. And I have a great week, everybody. And I wanted to also say that next weekend I'm going to end up having to skip because it's Father's Day, and I want to have everybody have time with their with fathers and stuff. Give them their special day, and then I'll be back the following week on Sunday at my regular time, 1 o'clock. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a great week. Bye-bye.